Peacock. Today I'm doing a review of Charterstone, designed by Jamey Stegmaier from Stonemaier Games, the designer of such hits as Scythe and Viticulture, both games I love. This is a legacy Euro game. So, with these types of games, people do not want to have the game spoiled. I'm not really going to spoil it. I am going to show you the board after the second game and talk about the rules there, which I don't think is a big spoiler thing. I think seeing the basic mechanics of the game will really make it easier for people to decide if they want to get this game or not. I'm going to spoil what the board looks like. One of the possibilities of how the board looks like at the end of the second game, and this is, I believe, a 15-game campaign, and I'm going to come back at you when I finish all of the campaign and then give you my final thoughts. So I'm only 2 games in right now. I think this is the perfect place to show you guys how the game works, and when I do come back and talk about my final thoughts, I am not going to spoil any major plot points or big surprises, if there are any. So the game has a double-sided board, so you can play through the campaign twice. Now, this is after the second game, so if you flip this over, you'll see a completely blank board. There is a recharge pack available that will let you get all new stickers and completely play through fresh. Okay, so you've got these 6 neutral buildings right in the middle, and the game plays 1 to 6 players, so if we were playing a 6-player game, everyone would have their own little charter here. I'm currently playing the campaign as a 2-player game with my son, and I am this place right here, and my son's up in Pumpkin Farm. At the start of the game, each player is going to get one of these little packages, which will have all of their tokens on it. And this is where you're going to keep different characters that you might be able to keep before a game. They're called personas. You will acquire these throughout the game, and the one you start with doesn't give you any advantages, but if you acquire them, they'll have a special ability, and they'll give you a little bonus for that game. And you just keep all of your tokens in, and stuff that you carry over. Also on the box is a way to keep track of your progress. If you win a game, you fill in the little victory cup here. You can start buying extra capacity. These are the different things you can take with you from game to game: items, money, resources, and workers. On the other side is basically prizes you can get for spending glory. If you notice around the score track, every 10th one has a star. For every one of those that you pass at the end of the game, you're going to be able to spend that. And over the course of the campaign, you're going to be able to, like I'm going for starting with 3 victory at the start of every game. I figure that's a nice little advantage. You can get another capacity down here. You can start with more workers, reputation. So this is 2 games in, but it's exciting having prizes and awards. Now at the start of the game, each of these charters is going to start with 1 building. So initially on the very first game, we've got 1 building in our charter. So let's talk about how the game plays a little bit. Typically, there's going to be a special objective down here. So say whoever has the most money at the end of the game is going to get an extra glory, and they will be able to scratch off this card for their choice of rewards. It'll be like a little bit of a story option, like will you do this or will you do that? And you're gonna have to go in and take out the corresponding card. Speaking of cards, this here is an index, and these are all cards that get added to the game over the course of a campaign. They could be new rules stickers that go into the book. They can be new buildings, new abilities, and each player typically has 2 workers. They're 2 different sizes, but they serve the same function. I have a feeling that later on in the game, it might matter which worker is which. On your turn, you put one of your workers down on any building. It could be the one in your own charter, it could be the one in his charter, or it could be the neutral one. Now with your starting supplies, you have these influence tokens, these things right here. You have 12 of these. There's some buildings that require you to spend your 12 influence, and this is a finite source. Now, although there are things you can find in the game to maybe reacquire them, typically once they're gone, they're gone. So you're going to have a certain amount of these reputation actions you can do every game, like building a building. If you've built a building, you'll take the sticker off here and place it in your own charter. But this card stays with you as something that can be opened as a crate. So buildings serve two purposes. You can build a building, and if you want to open a crate, you go to the corresponding action to open that crate, and there's going to be a list inside here that'll tell you which cards to open based on what crate it is, which is very user-friendly. The game is going to end when this progress token hits the end. It starts off at whatever the player count is, and then anytime someone builds a building, opens a crate, or completes an objective, which I'll mention in a minute, this thing's going to keep moving up. And then if someone runs out of all of their 12 influence at the start of their turn, this is going to move up automatically. Whoever has the most victory points when that hits the progress is the winner. So various actions are pretty simple to start. This one here, it's simply gain a mine. Now there's several different types of resource. Wood, minerals, ore, vegetables. So just gain one. This one here, spend an influence, gain a money, and an ore. And a lot of the first couple of games is really acquiring resource and trying to spend those in the most efficient way to get some buildings on the board. The second game, things get a little more interested. You've finally got like the end game objectives that come up that gives you something to go for. Ways to score points is you come over to this cloud port here, and you can basically put different kinds of spend different kinds of resources to put one of your tokens on the board here, and if you happen to fill in a victory point slot, you get a victory point. This boat symbol means reputation. That is end game scoring. Every time you do something that gives you that boat symbol, you add another reputation marker. At the end of the game, whoever has the most gets 10 points, second most 7, and third place is 4 points. You have to have at least one on there to qualify, though. You can just trade in any resource for money here. Coming to the market, that is where you can buy new cards. This can be new assistants that give you permanent abilities throughout the game, or new personas, which are basically, you can only use one per game, but they go into your little box, and you're going to pick one to use every game. They could be new buildings, or at the end of the game, you can only keep a certain amount of cards with you. It'll have to go back into this objective pile, and you'll have to buy it again the next game. The Charterstone here is how you open crates. Coming here lets you do an objective. It can be like have 6 coins, and then you would put a reputation marker on that objective. Each player can complete each objective once. And if you're thinking, well, only 2 workers, you can't do a lot. The thing is, you're either putting a worker on the board or you're taking them both off. So the turns are going very, very quickly. Now, this might be a little spoiler, but I don't think it's that bad, because at the end of the first game, you get these things called minions. In this case, it was a cat, and there's a box with a bunch of different types that you're going to be able to acquire throughout your game. The minions will have their own special abilities when you use them, and they can only be played in your own charter. And I think that more or less sums up the flow of the game. It tells you exactly how it plays without giving any of these wonderful legacy spoilers away. So, that's where we're at now. I've played 2 games. I plan on playing this campaign till the end. I'm going to come back when I'm done and give you my spoiler-free thoughts. Alright, well, that was Charterstone. As you can see, I'm back. Now, I was going to wear the same shirt for continuity, but come on, why bother? It's been about 3 months since I began the campaign. I finally got through all 12 games plus one on the completed board. So here are my thoughts on Charterstone. Let's start with the game length. Now, I played 2-player through the whole campaign with my 9-year-old son. The game plays anywhere between 45 to an hour-ish, typically, with the 2-player, and I imagine that if you had 4 adults, it's probably an hour to 90 minutes if everyone's playing along, so it's not a super long game. I would happily play this game with 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm only commenting on a 2-player play through the campaign. But if you check out my blog on YouTube there, and I do play with more players, you can get my thoughts there. So, the game is very simple to begin with, and then it just layers on complexity like an onion. And I found the turns to be very quick. So you just, boom, you're putting a dude down or you're taking all your guys back. It's got the legacy thing, so the game is exciting, figuring out what's going to be in these boxes, what's new, what's waiting, what kind of stickers are we going to put down on the board. However, I found the excitement did wane after the first few games. Now, there's 12 games to get through, and that's quite the commitment to play a whole campaign, especially for me. So, the mid-mark between the campaign, it's like, alright, I just want to see how this thing ends already. Now, there's still a few cool things that pop up, but I find the excitement of that legacy kind of wanes off after your first handful of games. Let's say after your first 5 or 6 games, and then it starts picking up a little bit more near the end. So you're not going to get that consistent excitement you might get with a game like Pandemic Legacy, where there's dramatic changes to the game. It is cool how when you're done this campaign, you have basically built your own board game based on the buildings you ended up putting on the board, where they got put, some of the decisions that you make can change things. I like that you're naming all these cities and charters and people, so that kind of flavor is left, that touch of personality is left on the game. Now, I tried to give my guys the worst names possible just to annoy my 9-year-old son, and I got a lot of gratification from that. I could very easily have added the automa to this game, and that's where the game kind of controls one faction. I just wanted to keep what we had going with the 2 players, but that is definitely worth checking out. I know I played the one for Scythe, and I actually did a review of that. I like how that went. So that would have been very interesting to see. Next thing is that once you are done this game, you are left with this board, and you get to just play a modified version, a non-legacy version of the rules permanently. On the other side of the board, you could flip it over, buy a $15 recharge pack, and do the same thing again. So there's definitely a ton of replay in this game, a ton, and for the price of a recharge pack, well worth it in my opinion. I even bought the fancy upgraded Stonemaier bits because I plan on playing this again, so that speaks volumes about how much I like this game. Playing with my 9-year-old was a good time. He loves Pandemic Legacy. Was his favorite game. I don't know if it's been replaced, but he loves the excitement of opening stuff up and putting stickers on the board and naming stuff. And the adding rules as you go along is a great way to play with younger children. If we just jumped into this at the end, oh my god, it'd be like, I would probably be like that, because it does get complex at the end. The basic concept of the game is still simple, put a dude down, take it back, but there is a lot more new rules, new strategies, and one of the negative things about just playing 2-player is there was a lot of strategies that weren't utilized, a lot of things I didn't get to see. We tended to keep to our, what was working for us, so there's certain buildings that we just had nothing to do with. They didn't interest us, and there was new things that kept coming out, like you get new characters that you can add, and we didn't put a lot of importance on that. We just kind of went, yeah, okay, some more stuff. And we didn't focus so much on getting that. We kept doing what we're doing. Which is why playing with a 4-player game with 4 adults will probably take my rating from maybe a 6-7 as a 2-player game to an 8-9 potentially. So that's kind of where I'm sitting at with the game. There's not much story to this game. It's supposed to be a campaign, but the story is just a little paragraph on the a card or two you get every game about this forever king that needs someone to make a new capital city kind of thing. I mean, it's better than nothing, but it's certainly not immersive or involved, or it doesn't leave you hanging or wondering what happens next. It's just going through the motions, like, you got some people coming to visit your village, oh, big deal. So the story definitely didn't immerse me. It was just kind of there. One interesting thing that happens is you get a choice somewhere during the game to decide how the end of the game is going to end up getting scored, because you don't even necessarily have to win every game to win this campaign. There's a lot of different factors, and about halfway through the game you're going to start to see what kind of things you're going to go for. You know, when you win a campaign, you get certain bonuses. You can kind of level up as you go. It lets you take more stuff from one game into the next, so that aspect is cool. How and if you lose, you get a little bit more of an advantage. You can carry more stuff than a player that won. I don't want to spoil too much about that, but that's a very basic gist, right? This is a legacy game. We don't want to spoil anything, so very, very minor tidbits of information there. Well, that's my thoughts. Like I said, I'm probably sitting around a 6-7 as a 2-player game, and I can see this getting up to an 8 or 9, playing with 4 adults. Even 6 would be fun because of just how fast the game goes. I'll play 6-player viticulture, no problem. So definitely hoping to get that other side of the board used. Thanks everyone for watching. It has been a long time since I made one of these. I hope I'm back in the saddle. I had to deal with some major life events, and I'm getting back into the fold. So again, I appreciate your viewership and support. Give me a like if you did like this and you want to see me do more. You can hit me up on Twitter right here. And that's all for today, folks. See you later.